What is up, everybody? It is your boy D Roy, and find me at Twitter, Instagram, and now YouTube at RoyDog_13, TikTok RoyDog13, and then Dennis M. Roy over on Facebook. Going to go through a little bit of rookies from the last weekend's NFL draft, and with me this week is Mr. John McGlynn. John, say hello.
Me. That's me, baby.
Where can they find you, John?
You can find me on X at John McGlynn 75. It's nice and simple. John McGlynn and the number 75, my football number from fourth grade all the way through into college. So that's why 75 is 75.
There you go. 63 was my number. So, but I don't use it for anything. I just use the 13 for everything because it's the lucky number. I don't know. Just one of my things. So what did you think of this weekend's draft, just from an aspect of looking at it from TV? I know you weren't up there this year.
You know what's funny is I was doing some live coverage with Fantasy and Frames for a little bit, and then I had people over at my house to watch some of the draft too. So it was just a weird experience. I mean, it felt like old school. We just sit in front of TV with a bunch of buddies drinking beers and watching the draft and hearing the analysis and all that kind of stuff. It's a whole different experience when you're at the draft than when you are, just enjoying the moment, being able to relax, sit somewhere not busy, not trying to catch the moment, on your cell phone or on your camera or on anything, or try to miss something, or analyzing in your head what's going on without being able to discuss with like 10 of your friends in a garage why that pick was good, why that pick was bad, you get to hear the NFL analysis, why they did this. So it's a whole different experience. But I've been to 8 of the last 10 drafts, so it's fun being at the draft too. To some of them, I did not enjoy my experience last year in Detroit, and I kind of felt like Green Bay was going to be the same kind of situation, which it looked like on TV. So I didn't want to go this year, but I will be going to Pittsburgh next year.
Oh, Pittsburgh's going to be fun.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, I've done 8 of 10 too. Because the only two that I missed was Philly and Cleveland.
I missed KC and Philly.
KC was pretty good. Walking around on there, it sucks if you're kind of a heavier set guy, just for the fact of the rolling hill that was going to the draft station, and you had to go up to the memorial and climb a whole shitload of stairs and to get to like the actual food trucks and all that type of shit. But KC was cool. Detroit, I didn't mind, but I didn't get out nearly as much as I wanted to. The problem with Detroit was how much it was closed off to try to get from one side to the other, in terms of the streets, if you wanted to kind of navigate around the actual draft itself. Green Bay had it really centralized around Lambeau Field. From anybody that knows, Lombardi Ave on the east side, down just past the Expo Center, which is where the media was set up, in there and around the Don Hudson practice facility, and then back up towards the Titletown area where they have the big grass hill and everything. But it was fine, except if you got on the wrong side of the draft area in terms of driving. That was kind of the only thing. They changed it from Thursday to Friday. They completely changed the one end coming off of Lombardi Ave. So you couldn't go on the east or the west. You couldn't choose if you're going to the east or the west side. They just sent you to the one side. And then we were like, all right, well, now I got to go all the way the fuck around, just to try and get back to where our parking spots were. But it was a good draft overall. Friday kind of sucked because of the rain, but you kind of work through it. Everybody had a lot of fun there. And
the only thing about Lambeau is I was kind of excited to go there because I've been to Lambeau 4 times for 4 games, but all 4 of them have been in the skybox. So I got there like 2.5 hours early, got in my skybox, got free food, free drinks, free tickets, all that shit like that. And it was like, I never got to tailgate at Lambeau. I'd never seen the outside of the stadium minus just parking and walking in. Like there's no reason to tailgate when you're getting everything for free in a nice warm skybox when it's freezing outside. So
right,
that's one thing I did miss. So I did want to I did walk around after the game and see like the souvenir shop and Titletown area and stuff like that. But it's since last time I had been there, they've made a whole bunch of improvements around the stadium, which I have not seen yet. So I haven't been there in a couple of years. But But I do kind of miss that, like meandering around the Titletown area just to see what has been done since last time I was there.
Yeah, there was a lot of growth there. The only time that I've been to Lambeau quite a few times, but that's just because working for natural foods company and delivering truckloads of stuff. We deliver a couple pallets there once a week and stuff. So I've been to like the receiving area, but you don't take your time to kind of look around and check everything out. But
yeah,
it's a really nice area. I really want to get up there to a game and actually be able to walk around and check it out, because the bar scene around there is really it's up there, especially for a small town.
What? Last time I was there, it was like that one bar across the parking lot, and then there was like nothing else on the street. Like, I don't know. They must have made a lot of improvements, because I was not a party town when I was there by any means.
Dude, there's got to be 6 bars just on the south end of it alone. And then on the north end, there's the Hinterland Brewing Company, and then there's a couple other bars just on that side. So, and I know there's a few that come right off to the west end of the area, but yeah, there's a lot more going on there now than there was several years ago.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's when you like. And then people are like 6 bars. I'm like, 6 bars. There's up and down Western Avenue in Chicago. There's about 26 bars on one street in like a 15-block radius, So it's like 6 bars, like it's a whole stadium, man. They should have like 40 bars around there.
You would think so, but I mean, look at Soldier Field. There isn't all that much really around there, except for if you want to go to the museum maybe after the game.
There's a ton right across Lakeshore Drive. There's a
you
whole
gotta get across Lakeshore Drive.
There's a whole ass like 4 million people city right across the street.
Hold on. So I went to fucking Metallica. That's why I missed the expo last year. Metallica's, and the way that we had to get across Lakeshore Drive, kind of going under or going over. I'm like, I don't give a shit about this area at all. I just want to get the hell out of here and go back towards like Grant Park, and the regular downtown. But
did you go to Chicago Draft?
Both
Chicago drafts.
Yeah, I went to both Chicago drafts. I didn't like take a lot of time. That was probably like a Saturday, the Saturday or whatever, and just kind of walk.
I worked right across the street from. I parked underneath Magadaley Park when I was working downtown at the time. So Magadaley Park was right across the street from Grant Park, where the actual combine was. So every day, my lunch, I'd get off work for lunch, and I'd walk across the street, and I'd see the first truck pull up for the NFL all the way till the last truck pulled out. I was there every day, walk the entire campus, see what's going on, how they're building stuff. I knew how the route was. So the days of the draft that came, I was able to bring my family, park underneath with my parking pass. And, I knew where everything was. I got the firsthand view, we were there all day long, both days. It was super cool. So
I was kind of thinking of this the other day, because I want to have my buddy Paul back on here to kind of go through like his 4 drafts that he's been to, kind of rank them out. And so when it comes to the 2 Chicago drafts, I kind of include them together because they weren't that much different.
No.
But the fact of the matter that they were the first 2 that they ever had outside of New York.
Right.
And then thinking back to it, they actually, for being the first 2, they actually did a really, really good job having it down in the park area like that. And I almost wonder if they couldn't bring it back to Chicago at some point and have it be even better with the improvements that they try to make with every single draft, and just have it back down in the park again, because it's a huge area to have that draft down in there, and it's not hard for them to shut down a lot of the intersecting streets that go through that park to run it again like that. I don't know what your thoughts are.
It was wonderful. When we were down there, we're like, this place, the draft is never leaving Chicago, man. It's like there's no way, because it was spread out. There was events and there was giveaways and there was this and there was that everywhere. Like it just, none of the drafts I've been to, like the draft in Tennessee, dude. I mean, I was on the rooftop with Mike Tagliere, and at that point in time, all the guys from Fantasy Pros were all up there. We had a section like quarantined off on Broadway. We could see the stage. Right, we had a bird's eye view of the stage. It was really cool. But I mean, if you had to go in the crowds, like Mike Tagliere was like, he hated like crowds. He hated he was a kind of a hermit, So
Mhm.
like he put his head like in my back, and I had to barrel through the crowd just to get anywhere we were going places because he kind of had like, how do you call it, like claustrophobia or something like that? When it should,
Yeah.
I mean, people were just, it was one street and there was 100 million people in like an alley, like it's like a lane looking at the stage. It was
Yeah.
so congested there. I mean, there's a lot of bars up and down Broadway to kind of go up into, but the draft area, it was like, I mean, it was like one street with 400,000 people stuffed in there. It was kind of a shitty situation. So Chicago, by means of like being spread out and how much area there was to have all these events, was by far my favorite one of the drafts. Like I said, the Detroit situation where he's put you in an open field. Me and my wife were there. I bumped into a bunch of people. I had talked to you on the phone, but we never. I don't think we bumped in person. But
Nope.
when you were standing on the ground, the stage was lower than the actual like field, so you couldn't even see the stage. I was watching this shit on TV. I'm like, we might as well just go to the bar. Like, what the hell is the use of like going to the draft when I can't? Why would they not propel the stage up higher so people could actually see the guys walking across the stage on the opening day? It was absolutely stupid.
Yeah, that was a poor choice by the NFL. Like when we kind of looked there, we actually got to go up in that one, even without the media preview. We got to go up there, and when you kind of looked back, it was like this isn't set up quite correctly. This needed to be higher. So I do agree with you on that. I didn't mind Detroit all that much, but that's probably because I was able to kind of walk back and forth, around the front area where the crowd lined up, in the gated area.
See, like Hoove and in Detroit, like Hoove and Dustin Ludke and them guys, they were in that like area, like the press area. And they were up in the building like 4 or 5 floors up, and they could see out the window, but they could only see the crowd. They couldn't actually see the stage, which I shot with from there where they were assigned to. So I thought that was kind of shitty too, to have like an area where the press was there. You couldn't take pictures of the players walking across stage. You had no video evidence, nothing to show for your content that you were even at the draft, minus buildings in the background and like half the crowd. It was kind of a, why would you do that to the press people? It doesn't make any sense.
They do it happens. It happens at every one. So all three of them, you never get a clear view of the actual stage or anything, because in Green Bay, the expo, which was behind the actual draft stage, because the green room was actually, I believe it was in the room right next to us. So they filtered out all the players out through there. Detroit was, it was in that big, I don't even know what to call it. It was basically an office building, set up, and then they had one floor that was dedicated for NFL media. Kansas City was in the convention center, where it was basically across the street. So if we wanted to get out to actually go over there to the actual draft, we had to go out and basically around the building, and come in through the regular fan entrance, to even get back into like the actual draft area. So I'm curious on all the other ones on how it was kind of set up. A lot of stuff for, like, I remember Dallas. They had a lot of the radio people. They were all out kind of in the parking lot. They kind of made it like a, I don't know if you want to say, like kind of like the swap meet, right? Down by Cicero, Elsip and stuff, like you have stands kind of all, you have all your stands kind of set up in there. But the draft itself was inside AT&T Stadium. So like they didn't even have a direct view on there. They were watching it. I remember talking to the Sirius folks, and they were just watching it on like the TVs and stuff to get the information that came out through there. So, I mean, I don't believe there's a real good setup for that, because you have to have just one dedicated area for the media and stuff. So I don't know if they'll ever get that fixed, but that's kind of why, we'll set up on and do the live stream on, say, Thursday and Friday, but we won't do anything on Saturday because we just want to get out and fucking walk around and stuff.
My favorite thing to do is on the drafts and like the combine and stuff like that is find people who look like fantasy football analysts and go ask them completely stupid questions and make them look, and like, or prompt them before. Like I did it to Kevin Du Bois, Kevin Coleman, and I did it to who was the other. I did it to like 5 or 6 people the last couple of years. I'm like, holy cow, you look just like so and so. So I walked up and I'm like, hey, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about the Cowboys or about the Packers or about the players they like or don't like. I'm like, so Michael, I don't know why I can't remember these guys' name, but I went around and I asked all these guys like, hey, what about this? What about that? And I told them like at the end of these totally stupid questions, shit like these guys wouldn't even say. And I'm like, hey, thanks for the interview, Mike Bowers, or thanks Dennis, or thanks whoever. So that's my favorite thing to do is just ask stupid questions and put it out there and like tag the people I'm who look like them. Yeah. And are like, dude, I wouldn't say that. Some people get pissed off. Some people, I don't give a fuck though, man. I have a great time doing it.
Who cares? It's just all fun. It's good humor. It's not hurting anybody.
Right.
Wednesdays though are always, speaking of interviews, Wednesdays are always are my favorite days because you get to actually talk to the rookies and stuff and kind of get some sound bites and stuff like that. We had
you go there on Wednesdays?
Yeah, it's weird because usually when we go to the draft, even if we have the media pass or not, we'll be there on Tuesdays. Get there on Tuesday, and then if we're able to get in to do the rookies, we'll be there Wednesday mornings. And that's when they do the NFL Play 60 with Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards you get to have a little interview session. But it's tough when you get like the high-end quarterbacks and stuff. Like everybody, like Caleb last year was almost nearly impossible to get anywhere near. I was lucky to get kind of like a side shot from somebody else's interview. Yeah. And even if it's with somebody else's interview, I'll still try to get the video on there just because, people want to hear these guys talk, what they think, what they kind of look like and stuff. And that's why, like in Kansas City, when we were talking with, I had Bryce Young and I was sitting with, I had a video, which was eye level with me and he was shorter than I was, but they were trying to say that he was 5'10". And I'm like, dude, I'm 5'9" and you're fucking shorter than I am. Don't pull this bullshit with me. So,
right.
But the rookie interviews are always fun. The guys are always in good spirits and stuff like that. Just because
I really enjoyed the combine way more than I enjoyed the NFL draft, to be honest with you. The combine itself was a weird experience, just sitting in a quiet stadium. But it's almost like being in a golf tournament where you can't say anything, you can't talk, you got to let the players kind of concentrate and do their things. But the actual like meeting the players, meeting the phases of the offensive running backs and the quarterbacks, and being able to. I mean, I got to ask a handful of people questions, but it was my first time at a combine, and it was kind of like you see on TV where like at like there's a press conference and 100 people are shouting out questions trying to get somebody to answer it. So when the guy's looking at you, you just got to keep talking over everybody else to try and like be rude and like get your question in, but it's like. Everybody else kind of finally shuts up when they realize that you're not shutting up. But there's guys who just don't shut up. They'll just keep talking, trying to get their question across the whole time. So it's kind of I had a much better experience, much more personal experience anyway, meeting the players themselves, taking pictures with guys, doing the interviews. I thought that was cool. I mean, there's a fun aspect about the NFL draft. There's a fun aspect about the combine. If there's some way that like, I don't know, you can't implement them both together, but if you take the good parts of both of those and be able to implement more, with, interviews and, more availability for the players on like, Tuesday, Wednesday or something like that, I probably would go earlier, but having the access like you do with the combine is super fun.
Yeah. I didn't go to the combine this year. I went the year before. I took my daughter on there. Didn't have media passes for that, but I was just like, I just want her to kind of experience, this for the first time as I'm experiencing it for the first time outside of watching it on TV.
Yeah.
And she enjoyed the fuck out of it. She loved it. She'd find her favorite players that she that she liked, or she thought were cute, cause she's a teenager. And, but I mean, like when Xavier Worthy ran his 40 or whatever, she was hard pressed not to be like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
you can see it on her face.
You guys got to watch my boy Joe Milton throw a 90-yard pass in the air too. I was so pissed I couldn't make that.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting watching doing camera, but watching like the quarterbacks and stuff from that angle. The problem is unless you have the media pass where you can get on that correct side to kind of see them, it's, to me, it's almost worth it just to stay at home. And that's what I tried to tell my daughter, because I can, you got that camera, the camera's way closer. So you can pick up, kind of the nuances and stuff to see if they've kind of corrected any of their deficiencies and whatnot, heading into the combine from their last season in college.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're gonna pull that all up when you watch their, fucking 5 highlight reels that somebody, like all these people have made. And every single highlight reel has almost all the same plays. So it's just like, just find something in there. And
I found myself, go ahead.
Nope.
I found myself being much more prepared this year for rookie stuff, because I joined a bunch of C2C leagues last year, and I kind of knew a little more about the players coming out. I did a lot more research. I'd never had the chance to get into this, because my wife worked second shift. I had 4 kids. I coached all the sports. I never had time to do fantasy like I do now. So like about 2 years ago, I started digging into it. I'm an electrician in the field. I've never had a laptop, never had a computer, never had anything. My kids just had school laptops, but mostly books. Like, we don't have a house computer like that everybody shares or stuff like that. We don't have any of that. So I am computer illiterate. Just getting into this now and being able, I'm learning how to use Google Sheets. I'm learning how to use, I didn't know how to use Word. I didn't know how to use copy and paste until 3 years ago. And I mean, that's how bad I am for shit like this. But it's funny how far I've come and how much accessibility you have, but at the same time, I'm never going to be P2W. I'm never going to be the boys. I'm never going to be, these guys who are just, they go to work and they have all the tools. They know how to use the tools. They have accessibility to the tools. They know how to put out content the correct way, how to stream it, how to like make it into, make it look good, make it sound good, put the stats and things like that. I mean, I know it's easy to just go in there every day and kind of punch in some things on a Google sheet or like Excel spreadsheet, and just finding some stat today and being like, oh, did you know that Bob Harris ran 4.29? Like, okay, I know it's that easy to kind of do that kind of stuff if you want to do it every day on a regular basis, but for me, that takes 5 hours to like get the stuff. And everybody's like, if you keep doing it all the time, well, I don't have access to my computer when I'm working 12-hour days on midnights, or I'm sleeping for 5 hours, when I get a chance to, something like that. So I do the best I can, but I enjoy it. If I never get paid a dime in the fantasy football world, I don't give a shit, but I'm learning so much more. And this year, going to the draft and going to the combine was so much of a greater experience, because I felt like I knew these players so well from previous years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just becoming proficient in any type of stuff, the tools that, we would use, spreadsheets, power. I use PowerPoint for my depth charts and stuff like that. It takes time. It takes time, and it takes, just practice, and just keep doing it over and over and over. And soon you just start finding the most efficient ways to kind of fucking do shit. Yeah. But there's a lot of those guys, like, especially on TikTok, that just, they pull up this shit, and I'm just like, how you spent a bit of time to try and put this chart together, just to kind of talk about it. But I'm not going to take that time. I'm not going to waste my time to do that when I can just hop on my podcast, hop on a live stream, and we can just, straight up talk about it. You don't need the fucking numbers on it. Because if you, like, say the website, if you're subscribed to the website, you have the access to the numbers that I'm going over. And I tell you exactly what spreadsheet to go to kind of look at it if you want to follow along. And that's what I did with the draft guide. So it's kind of putting it a lot. Some people say it's taking the onus off of myself, but it's in reality what it is doing. It's putting the onus on the fantasy player themselves, that if you really want to learn it, if you really want to know what's going on and how to look at this stuff, you're going to pull this shit up and go look at it.
Yeah.
Like, the really good players are going to look at this shit and not just rely on, your and I's voice, telling you, hey, you got to draft this guy. Here's the reason why, you can look at it based on, depth charts, any type of, yearly or seasonal stats and whatnot. You can all cross-reference that, and you can do it so much easier now than you could even 5 years ago.
I tell you what, though, but for me, I mean, there's some people who use spreadsheets for everything. They never watch one game. I mean, there's some people who couldn't even tell you what color Green Bay Packers uniforms are, but they could tell you what Aaron Rodgers yard per hour, air yards are from 1987, whatever. So it's like, okay, that's good. If you look at like the all 22 of a guy like Caleb Johnson, and you look at his he broke the most tackles, he's got this and that. If you look at his break tackle rate is so and so. If you watch the film, that dude had holes the size of a Mack truck to go through. He broke 100 million arm tackles when with these humongous assholes. And they're like, well, he played against the most stacked box. And okay, what does that matter? If they played zone offense and they just now moved everybody out of the way and he had an open hole, who gives a shit if he had stacked boxes? Because he still had holes all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Every time somebody hit him square, he went down. He never broke tackles. He broke arm tackles. You can't say like, oh, this guy's he's going to Steelers that have a terrible offensive line. The only thing he's going to have in Pittsburgh is volume. He's going to have volume. He's going to have 250 carries. That's fine. But if he can't not break tackles, I mean, he's going to get 2 or 3 yards because he's 220 some pounds and it's 6'1". He's going to get some yards. I'm not saying he's going to have, for the whole season, he's going to have 225 rushing or 225 attempts for -4 yards. Like, we all know that's not going to happen. He's going to have some decent games where he's going to find a hole every once in a while. But he's more of a best ball player to me than he is a lineup setting player, because there's 100 million running backs who don't have as many carries as him, who are going to catch the ball in a PPR league. We're going to get more points than Caleb Johnson on a regular basis. He doesn't catch the ball. He doesn't break tackles. And he's not like a goal line back either, because he can't. I mean, I guess they're going to use him a goal line back because of his size. But I mean, he was big going in the draft for a lot of analysts who just use numbers. And then people started watching tape and be like, this guy doesn't really have like old man strength, like he just he runs and he doesn't do. Like, those are the differences between. I can't just view somebody's spreadsheets and be like, oh yeah, Caleb is. I'm going to take Caleb because he's going to have the opportunity. He'll have the opportunity, but what's he going to do with it? So these are. I don't trust. I trust my eyes. I don't trust numbers, but I also use numbers, a little bit in the background.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good to actually view the players and stuff, and I mean that's why I love with the NFL ticket and stuff during the regular season. I mean, if you actually watch the games and you see what's happening versus, what the stats say at the end, what the fantasy points are, why did, X running back have 25 points? Well, he accumulated like 12 of them off of one fucking play. And it just happened to be a broken arm, like a guy fell down when he was, chasing after him, and then who should have clearly, tackled him near the line of scrimmage, but he got complete. Why am I brain farting here? I'm brain farting more than you are right now.
Yeah. And I was out
but you know what I mean? Like you get one play where you're running 80 yards and then you get the touchdown. So there's 14 points right fucking there.
Yeah.
And then what happens is people start chasing those points against the same team, and it's like, well, if you do look at the DVOA rankings, it's going to go up a little bit or go down, however you look at it, right? So they get worse, but all because of one play, and you're just like, but this guy isn't nearly as good as, it isn't even as good as the guy that got it. So why would I trust that? And that's where kind of like we talk about the landmines in DFS. Of chasing the points from the previous week, when in reality you need to take a look at what happened in the previous games beforehand, and kind of read the story through.
Yeah.
But
yes. Where can everybody find your stuff at? I mean, everybody's who's on this YouTube, probably already knows, but there's somebody on here. Like, where does all your stuff at, Dennis?
My stuff, the website is dawghouseff.com. It's DAWGHOUSCFF.com.
Somebody goes on there. What are you unrolling there? What are they going to find when they walk in the world of Dawghouse Fantasy Football on your website and your socials?
Well, you're gonna find like the depth charts and a lot of preseason work for seasonal, going in basically prep work and for drafts. So like you get depth charts, you get weekly updated ADP tracking spreadsheet, which I use NFFC. It's a high stakes league. It's been really really good in kind of tracking where players are going to go or where they should go versus in those type of leagues versus, kind of like where you'll see them, where you'll kind of see them drafted in regular home leagues.
Mhm.
So I take that when I put a draft guide together at the end of July, early August. I kind of go through there and I go, look, this stuff, the ADP that I'm showing you, I give them at the draft guide, they get the last 3 weeks of ADP. So you track it up and down. This is where they should go, but they're going to go here. So we're working at either an advantage or a disadvantage in terms of kind of like the stock market, right? So
Yeah.
you're kind of projecting on there. You go, hey, if they're not at least at here or below, you're staying away. Or, if it's a guy that we really kind of want to jump on and say, hey, look, he's way too low, he needs to go up here. So we're going to draft him a little bit higher and get on the train. And then essentially, so do all the preseason stuff, and then DFS is primarily what I handle in seasonal. But with what I do is I track strength of schedule through DVOA data.
Mhm.
And that gets updated weekly, and I break that down versus for each position. So we handle passing, rushing, the 3 wide receiver spots, the tight end, running backs, both in rushing and through receiving. And that strength of schedule gets broken down by quarters, halves, and for the full season. So you kind of get a more true evaluation of where to kind of project where a player is going to go. Now, of course, DVOA doesn't get set until really like the 3rd or 4th week of the season. So we kind of play it by ear. But it's been really, really good in terms of tracking when to get ahead of picking up a player on waiver wires,
Mhm.
and get ahead and not have to spend any of your, fab money on there, or just, if you think you want to throw a couple bucks on there because somebody else is on there.
Mhm.
So that's been really good. And then there's a spreadsheet that gives you that you can use DVOA versus defense versus position player points.
Mhm.
So, your quarterbacks, your running backs, wide receivers, right? And you can put them up against one another, see if there's any differences in them or if they correlate together. And then that tracks throughout the year. So you can find, basically we work off of trends, and
Mhm.
you can find whether or not a defense is trending up or trending down. And that can be versus just the defense in general, or, if there's injuries that are involved on there. And I've actually added FTN has all the DVOA data now, because they basically acquired Football Outsiders a couple seasons ago. So they've been really good with that. And then they track depth of target and side to side. So I've been incorporating some of that in there.
Yeah.
But you can use it for DFS. You can use it for seasonal. I go through FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo's player pricing, and I price them out, and I rank them out, based on, highest to lowest on there, so you can
Sure.
actually see what the true values are.
Mhm.
Because I get really irritated when I see somebody go, well, he's a great value on DraftKings, but they only deal with DraftKings. So I'm like, no, this is the true evaluation of it. You have to at least look at FanDuel and DraftKings head to head, even though
Sure.
one's a half point PPR and one's a full point. You have to get the full evaluation of their values across different sites. You can't just do it off of one. And that's always, I've kind of made that my sticking point with that. But
Yeah, if you have a system, I mean, that's a lot of people, they kind of like, oh, I like with this vision their rankings or envision how they view players' values. And if you have a system and you're kind of laser focused on how you got there and you believe in it, you got to go with that. So I appreciate that you are able to kind of see your way through your evaluations.
yeah.
Like a lot of people like take ADP too seriously. I think sometimes it's because guys get hurt, they don't play for a week, something like that, or some of the ADP is from these sites that just have 50 mock drafts, and then a bunch of yahoos get on there and they draft the first round. They don't get who they got, and they just let the computer, automatically pick these things. And the ADP is all messed up on a lot of these sites because of the fact that it's nothing but mock drafts that anybody could join. They just say, anybody want to join our mock draft so we can get ADP? That's not. I like rankings, not ADP. I have a couple guys who I really trust that I take their ADP, their rankings, and I kind of like see why this guy's got this one higher, and I'll kind of do some research into that. Why is this person who knows so much more than me? Why does he have, this week? Why does he have, Jamar Chase as wide receiver 10 instead of wide receiver 2? Like, what's going on here? What was the reason? So that's what I do. I kind of, I look at that kind of stuff. And then, starting lineups is a whole different story. Like, you get the fantasy pros and dynasty nerds and, the recommendations for who you should start and who, whatever. You got to take all that stuff with a grain of salt too when you're setting your lineups. I don't do best ball. I've never played in a best ball league. I don't, I tried it for like, a mock draft, and I'm like, yeah, this is just, you get in there, you draft, and then you don't talk to your league mates for the entire season. It's kind of weird. Yeah. So I'm not a fan of best balls at all. I run a bunch of home leagues, and that's I like interacting. I do this for fun. I don't, of course I want to win money. It's even fun when I take my friends' money, when I win my leagues, that's even better when I show up to the draft with my rings, and be like, yeah, what's up? I got that. The home leagues are so much more fun to me. And then like in-person drafts, not just, not just home leagues, but like, and then especially lineup setting leagues is like, on the internet are fun too, but best ball just isn't for me. It's not, I don't want to draft just to draft. I like to interact with people.
Yeah. Best ball is okay if I'm like fucking bored and I just want to draft. But the whole point of best ball, at least from what I can tell, is everybody wants to get the guy with the highest ceiling and stay away from, stability, guys that are completely stable.
Yeah.
Which it's fine, but if you're getting a stable guy at a complete value, he could actually outperform your guy that's your boomer bust.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I don't know. I don't find it to be very fun either. And I don't check because I'm never going to check back on it unless, like say if I'm doing something on Sleeper or Underdog or something like that, and I get some kind of a notification that goes, hey, you won money.
Yeah.
I'm never going to fucking go back to it. But the regular seasonal stuff where you can actually do the trading, that's where I'm laser focused on there. And
yep.
I like my in-person drafts, but I know I have a couple of guys that like to do high stakes and stuff. And even like their home leagues themselves are, you're looking at 5-10 grand for first. Yeah. And so I had a couple of guys that, took a couple grand just off a fucking home league.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very important for them that I was sitting there, paying attention to all this shit. And I'm just like, yeah, just come to me anytime. I don't give a fuck. That's what we're here for. We're here to win fucking titles, not, sit here and play fucking patty cake and not give a fuck. So, but, yeah, I don't do the weekly rankings. I don't do projections like that. Just because to me, no matter what ranking or projection that you're looking at, like what you said, where there's an outlier that you kind of see where you're just like, you're like, well, why is this? Outside of that, everybody's going to be right around each other. So it's basically just trying to find the ebb and flow of how the preseason is going before we hit the drafts and stuff. And then during the season, it's you get a guy that'll be like, do I start Saquon Barkley or do I start, Antonio Gibson because he's got the start over Ramondre Stevenson, like last year. And it's like, no. And I'm doing this by example. Nobody actually asked this one, but you get something similar to that. And it's just like, well, you're starting Saquon every fucking week. You drafted him in the first or second round. So I don't know why you would even ask the question. It doesn't matter what kind of matchup he has. He's your elite running back. So that's who you got to start.
Yeah.
So it's kind of teaching folks, look, you have a tier level, we draft in tiers, but when you're in your on your own seasonal teams, all your players should be ranked into tiers. Your running backs are all listed from best to worst, and your wide receivers best to worst. And you just run it like that. And more often than not, you're going to make the playoffs and you're going to be in contention for a title just doing that alone. Yeah. So it's just trying not to fuck around. You don't have to take it 100% seriously, but you just have to understand why you're doing something and just do it. And, more often than not, I think a lot of people would actually be a lot better at playing the game, to be honest.
Can we go over, do you have your rookie rankings already published?
I do not. I'm going to publish them later today.
Have you done any rookie drafts yet?
I have not done any rookie drafts. I know I have one coming up soon, probably next weekend.
I have a non-tight end premium that's completed so far. I'm in 4 more right now as we speak. But even in that, I'd like to go over some of these the draft picks for full PPR non-tight end premium. Just kind of let me know what you think about some of these landing spots, okay?
Yeah.
If you don't mind. So 101 was Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
I traded for him. I got him. It was nice to get him. Early in the year, I traded, and the draft pick just ended up being 101. So I got lucky. It wasn't like I traded for half the house for Genty and somebody took the trade. It was one of those deals where last season, before the season started, I made a trade for somebody's first round pick and it ended up being 101. So
nice.
It's a super flex non-tight end premium, full PPR, 12 team with 10 starting spots and only a 12-man bench. So it's not super deep, only a 4-round draft. So I have a team 2 went Cam Ward. And these the biggest thing people get caught up on in these rookie drafts sometimes is sometimes it's not about value, it's about team needs too. This guy lost all of his quarterbacks, and he's team 2 had desperation to get a quarterback. So it's not like this guy maybe had valued Cam Ward as the second best player in the league. But when you have 0 quarterbacks going in a super flex league and you have the 102 and you don't have a quarterback, you're going to have to make some decisions at that point in time. So this league may or may not say that Cam Ward is the best player, but that's where he's drafted here. And then I think the unanimous 3 and 4 are Ted McMillan and Travis Hunter, unless you get some of my leagues are in our half point PPR for wide receivers, full point PPR for running backs, and then a 1.5 PPR for tight ends. That's how some of my scoring is. And it would be way different than how this draft is shaking out, non-tight end premium. So in a full PPR, it went Genty, Ward, Tet, and Hunter. And then I think the draft starts there with Marion Hampton, Travion Henderson, and Quinshon Judkins had gone the next 3 running backs in a row. So that's 4 running backs in the first 8 picks that had gone through. Burden and Ibuka went back-to-back there, which I think those are my – to be honest with you, I think Travis Hunter is probably the best receiver in this draft. But, I mean, as far as – I think my 1 and 2 are Luther Burden and Emeka Ibuka tied for, tier 1 in wide receivers. So they went 8 and 9 in this draft. I would have took, just because of the fact that value is concerned, I would have took those guys. I would have waited and traded back for Ibuka and Burden before at 103, 104. I would have traded Tet back to get 108 or 109 to get either one of those guys. Mm-hmm. That's just me. I'd better have that in a second round pick or something like that. But then Matthew Golden went, which, Matthew Golden is he gained a lot of steam after the NFL draft, and he landed in Green Bay, and everybody thinks that he's going to be the next coming of the best receiver in Green Bay history. But that's a crowded room. A lot of guys leaving next year, but I don't think Matthew Golden is that special. I think he's just a lot of good numbers at the combine. And then even a non-tight end premium, Colston Loveland went at 111, and then Jackson Dart, a quarterback, went at 112. So Genty, Ward, McMillan, Hunter, Hampton, Henderson, Judkins, Ibuka, Burden, Golden, Loveland, and Dart. How does that first round sound for you?
Let me address Travis Hunter once, or ask a question about Travis Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Now, in dynasty circles, is everybody on board with the fact that he is truly going to be playing wide receiver?
Well, Jacksonville Jaguars said that on draft day they're going to use him primarily as wide receiver. So that's something that as soon as that ball had dropped, they had said, okay, we're pairing up across from a very talented Brian Thomas, and he's going to be the second wide receiver on this team, and we're going to have a two-headed dragon that people are going to have to deal with, and they're going to use him, sometimes in some defensive packages. That's what the Tennessee Titans had said. So when the Titans say that kind of thing, you have to kind of say, okay, it is what it is. He's going to be used primarily at wide receiver. He's a wide receiver in rookie drafts. I'm going to go with it. Would you rather just pass on the talent and, I'm going to take a running back over the best wide receiver prospect possibly in, a couple of years? I mean, you kind of have to pull the trigger on Travis Hunter if you're in a full PPR league or even a non-tight end premium, or a non-premium for running back receptions, things like that. You're going to have to kind of pull the trigger on Hunter, I think.
I think it would be easier for me to say yes to that if you were doing a league that had IDP. Just for the plain and simple fact that the sites have started to kind of do like the the Shohei Ohtani thing,
yeah,
but not split them up, but leave them in because he's able, which they were doing the right thing versus what everybody did with Shohei Ohtani, where they split him into pitcher versus hitter, but a lot of these companies were like, no, since we have IDP, if you play with the IDP, he's going to be able to accrue on both. The problem I have with Travis Hunter, the problem I have with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you say anything bad about Trevor Lawrence, I'm paying this fucking show up, all right?
I'm not going to say anything bad about Sonny. It's just the fact they need him on offense, but they need him on defense even more.
Well, he'll play in dime pack, or I guess like nickel and dime packages every once in a while. And when let's say they go 3 and out and it's 3 runs and they don't get it, and he just ran a couple routes and didn't get tired, and then they're up against a 3rd and long and they need a dime package or an extra defensive back or something like that. Who put on there? But it's become such a big fucking deal in these leagues now. Like, we need to add 6 points per touchdown. What is he going to get? Maybe 1, possibly maybe 2 interceptions the entire season if he's lucky. Like, you don't need to change your entire scoring system. And if you do, you vote on something like that, it goes in next year, not this year. You don't hurry up and push something in because one guy has pick 101, wants to take Travis Hunter or something like that. That's something you vote on and implement a year down the road. Like, if you're a good commissioner, you don't just rush this shit in to make somebody's team better, or because you got him on your team, you want to hurry up and get him in right now. These voting is not for, especially in scoring. The hardest thing to change in fantasy football leagues is scoring. If you're going to give somebody else points for something or take points away from people after everybody already drafted, you got to, if you change from one quarterback to super flex, or you add an extra wide receiver position, that changes your entire roster dramatically. So, everybody wants to hurry up and make these changes, and let's give them I don't play fantasy baseball, so the Shohei kind of scoring system is I don't really know. I get the, the pitching and the hitting and the home runs and all this. I understand it, but I don't think he's the Shohei of the NFL by any means. He's not going to be out there sacking the quarterback 32 times, this shit like that. It's
right.
not. He's gonna play defense, get a couple pass deflections, and maybe an interception or something like that. It's where you get an extra 10 points for the whole season, maybe 15 points.
Well, I think the reason why they're doing it though is because they don't even those sites. They don't know if he's truly going to be playing on offense or if he's going to be playing on defense. So they offer. If you have IDP,
and quarterbacks don't score shit in IDP anyway. So what the hell's the difference?
They should though when they throw their interceptions and
But the better cornerbacks don't get thrown to, and they like on Revis Island, nobody throws the ball to him, because they're that good. If he's a shutdown corner, he's going to get shit for points anyway. So if he was a terrible cornerback, he gets picked on all the time, and maybe he has some deflections and interceptions. But if he's that good where they're not throwing to him, he's going to get shit for points anyway.
I'm just saying, when my quarterback throws an interception and he makes a tackle, I want that 0.1 point.
Okay.
That's my. But I mean, if you're saying that everybody's kind of in agreement that Travis Hunter is going to, primarily play at wide receiver, and that's where he's going to make his stay, then yeah, I have no problem with him being up there. Cam Ward, I'm going to have to end up drafting it probably too, myself, because my quarterback room is getting old. I do like Hampton Judkins and Travion with New England.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Okay, now that we're talking about that, because we got in that situation of do you have to or you need to or that kind of thing. So let's just go here. If you had pick 102, let's just say you needed a quarterback, all right? You had pick 102. Let's go down a list of quarterbacks. Would you take Cam Ward or let's start at the top. Would you take Cam Ward or Josh Allen? I mean, 100% everybody run away with Josh Allen. Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson. Tell me when to stop when you get to a quarterback you trade the 102 away for, or you trade for Cam Ward. Let's say you had pick 102, or you had these quarterbacks. I'm wording this incorrectly. Which one of these quarterbacks would you trade away to get Cam Ward? Okay, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Tell me when to stop when it hits a guy. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams.
Mahomes, I wouldn't.
Right. Drake May, CJ Stroud, Bo Nix, Jordan Love, Kyler Murray. Which one of these guys would you trade away to get pick 102 to pick Cam Ward? Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, Sunshine, Michael Penix. I mean, we're getting in the area right now where I think these guys have already proved something in the NFL. Yeah. Jared Goff, J.J. McCarthy's still a question mark. Dak Prescott, Bryce Young, Tua Tagovailoa, Jackson Dart, Justin Fields. Like, where would you? I would trade Justin Fields away to get the 102 for Cam Ward. I would trade Sam Darnold away to get the 102 for Cam Ward. I would trade Tua away to get Cam Ward. I would trade Bryce Young away to get Cam Ward. I would probably trade J.J. McCarthy away to get Cam Ward. I'd probably trade Jared Goff away to get Cam Ward.
Yeah, I mean,
I trade Brock Purdy away to get Cam Ward.
If somebody wanted to give me the 102 for one of those guys, I'd trade him in a fucking heartbeat.
Jordan Love, would you trade away Jordan Love to get Cam Ward?
Straight up?
Yes.
No, because I still believe that he has more room to grow.
CJ Stroud, would you trade CJ Stroud away to get Cam Ward?
No. Not with those Iowa State receivers that they just drafted.
That's right. Jaden Higgins, baby. Let's go. Jaden Higgins just got compared to last year's Keon Coleman. Like he's going to be killed. He's supposed to be Keon Coleman in this year's draft is what everybody's saying right now.
No,
he can't separate.
He's better than Keon Coleman. I didn't like Keon Coleman. I like Higgins quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too.
Who was the quarterback that you just?
I had said.
Oh, Drake May. May.
Maybe Brock Purdy. Let's go with Brock Purdy. Would you trade away Brock Purdy to get?
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, is right. Damn straight. Bo Nix.
Yes.
Caleb Williams.
No.
Okay, Caleb Williams starts the tier of like those guys above me. I'm going to keep instead of. So we're going to go to. Let's just start with. I don't remember if I said it or not. Drake May. Would you trade away Drake May to get Cam Ward?
I like Drake May, but I would probably still trade him.
And then Stroud is a no. You said you're going to keep Stroud, right?
I'm going to keep Stroud.
Bo Nix.
Yes.
You would trade him away.
I would trade him. No. You know what? No, I would. Yeah, I would because I made value on where he was drafted last year.
All right. So you made value on Bo Nix. He's gone. You got Cam Ward on your team now.
Yep.
You already said you're going to keep Jordan Love. Kyler Murray. Would you trade away Kyler Murray to get Cam Ward?
Yes.
Okay. Brock Purdy. That's instantaneous. Both of us smash accept. Yes.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield. That's kind of a tricky one.
I'm probably keeping Mayfield.
As much as I want to trade Ward, I'd probably keep Mayfield myself too.
I would just keep Mayfield. I know that Evans is only probably got a year or two, and probably Godwin as well. But they are restocking.
Yeah, they are.
Their wide receiver room year in and year out, and they're doing it with quality. They're doing it with quality too.
Michael Penix.
Yes.
Would you trade away Michael Penix to get Cam Ward?
Yes.
Yes, me too. Jared Goff.
Yes.
Would you trade away J.J. McCarthy to get Cam Ward?
Absolutely.
Yes. I don't. J.J. McCarthy to me is just a game manager, man. I saw him play in high school. I saw him play in college, and he played on running teams that barely threw the ball, and he just threw some nice passes. But he was it was more like a just control the ball kind of thing, and that's okay. And I mean, that's okay when you can do that, but he's never really put in pressure situations too much. I mean, the championships are one thing, but they ran a ton in the championship. Dak Prescott. Would you trade away Dak Prescott to get Cam Ward?
Oh, yes.
You would?
Yes.
I would not. No way.
I have him on my dynasty team right now.
You would trade away Dak Prescott to get Cam Ward?
Yes.
Oof. Bryce Young.
I'll tell you why. Just because they're I don't know, how do I want to say it? His future is cloudy. This is his last year, I believe. This is his last year in under contract in Dallas, and I don't believe in Jerry Jones not fucking that up. And in that case, I don't know where the hell he's going to end up.
Yeah, he's only 33, right?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
I mean, he's still got 10 years. Just ask Aaron Rodgers if he ever signs with Pittsburgh.
Bryce Young. Would you trade away Bryce Young to get Cam Ward?
No.
That's interesting because I just traded away Bryce Young for like the pick 107 and 108 and a bunch of other drafts, figuring that he's just flashed a couple of years for teams that were already getting into the playoffs, didn't really give a shit, and Bryce Young looked good against a bunch of shit teams that didn't really care at the end of the season last year, and everybody went nuts for him. So yeah, I would.
I'm not a Bryce Young guy. But there's just something that I was kind of watching as that season progressed, and I get it that he was doing it late in the year against shitty teams. But that's still a spark in the right direction. Like if you ask me next year, if he doesn't improve upon what he did last year with Tet there, then I would be more likely to trade him away. But I understand you got to kind of get ahead of it or whatnot. If you traded him, I'm not going to hold it against you. It's just my own personal thing.
Tua Tagovailoa, would you trade Tua away to get Cam Ward?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 100%. Tua Tagovailoa is the left-handed version of Shedeur Sanders. So, yeah, that's sort of the way I look at it. Jackson Dart, would you trade Jackson Dart away to get Cam Ward?
Jackson Dart?
So re-roll both. I mean, brand new re-rolls on both of them. So
I want Cam Ward before I want Jackson Dart. I do like the landing spot.
I do too.
He's got the arm with Malik Neighbors. Mm-hmm. But what I said is that Jackson Dart is actually just a stronger arm JJ McCarthy. They're very similar in their throwing styles.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit more love for Jackson Dart just because he's more of a gunslinger than McCarthy is. Mm-hmm. But I still like Cam. I still like Cam Ward. I do like what Tennessee is doing there right now. Now, whether or not it works out, that's kind of the main thing. But Cam Ward is going to be starting from day one.
Yeah,
and I think he can be successful on that team. It may not translate into wins, but he's going to actually produce.
Just change your mind right now, close your eyes and think about fantasy points only, okay, and not about the player and not about the situation, not about the long-term value. We're talking about win now team right now. Would you want Justin Fields or Cam Ward in your team for fantasy points?
For fantasy points?
Yes.
Fucking Fields.
Yeah. Say it.
Fuck, I hate saying it, but it's true.
It's the truth. Sam Darnold or Cam Ward? I mean, Sam Darnold just went ham last year. He had a bad playoff game, and everybody went, "Oh, you saw ghosts again." But Sam Darnold or Cam Ward?
With Cooper Kupp and JSN, I'm gonna go with Sam Darnold. He's gonna have more points at the end of the year.
This is an easy one: Anthony Richardson or Cam Ward?
Cam Ward.
Yeah, Geno Smith or Cam Ward?
Cam Ward.
Matthew Stafford or Cam Ward?
Oh, it's fucking close. Give me Cam Ward. Just because he, even though Cam doesn't have a lot of the rushing yards in terms of stats, he has the ability to run. Okay, and I think Tennessee's going to unlock him.
Deshaun Watson or Cam Ward?
Cam Ward.
That's enough of that quarterback.
You just had to massage that one in, huh?
Yeah. So that's enough for the Cam Ward kind of talk there, our quarterback talk. We kind of proved our point there. But, if he's going to go like quarterback 14 or 15 or something like that as a rookie, I guess it's probably worth the 102 anyway. But all right. So Jackson Dart went in this draft. Just to run through real fast. Caleb Johnson went 201. Tyler Warren went 202, even in a non-tight end premium, which, he's going to be involved in the offense a lot. what do you call it? Trey Harris, RJ Harvey, Jaden Higgins. I love Jaden Higgins. He went to me at 205. Cam Scadaboo, Jack Beck, Tyler. I call him Tyler Show, but Tyler Shuck, whatever. Then Milrow, Jalen Noel, Shadur Sanders, and Tootin. Sanders has been going like 305, 307, 302, kind of back and forth. He went in the end of the second round here, which, it's a super flex league, so you kind of have to do that. I better have Shadur Sanders on my team, who's probably going to get starting job above guys like Woody Marks or Terrence Ferguson or Mason Taylor or Harold Fannin. I like Mason Taylor a lot. I think he's in a good situation too, but Harold Fannin, I had him on my C2C teams. Guy almost single-handedly won weeks in my C2C leagues with what he did in college, but I don't think that's going to translate to the NFL. He's in Cleveland. He's behind Njoku. He's got a year or so to learn, but he doesn't block. He's not going to be on the field. He's undersized. People say he could be Evan Ingram. He's kind of a little bit smaller version of Evan Ingram, but Evan Ingram just catches the ball, and he had a really good season. That it is what it is. So that's round 3. What do you call it? Kyle Williams went in round 3 to me. I traded up to get Kyle Williams at 301. Woody Marks, Terrence Ferguson, Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin, Jaden Blue, Elijah Arroyo, who I'm trying to get right now, but the guy won't trade me in the different draft I'm in.
Jaden Blue that low?
Pardon me?
Jaden Blue that low?
306. Yeah, I mean it's not like he's. I know he went to Dallas, and he's going to have an opportunity there, but
I'm just surprised at it. That's all. I'm not saying
this is only one league's in draft special. So a draft. Some people value other players. They reached on quarterbacks, so they reached on something else. And in a 9 tight end premium league, we already had 5 tight ends go in the beginning of the 3rd round. So there's 6 actually in the by the middle of the 3rd round, which is kind of wild to me. But whatever. At that point in time, only the first 12 tight ends are really. It's like having a 1 quarterback league with tight ends. In reference to tight ends. Yeah. Alec Aomanor went to 308. Then Jordan James went after that, and then Devin Neal, which I really like. Devin Neal. Ollie Gordon, who I liked before, but really kind of his last year in college kind of put him in the shit tank for value. Yeah. And then Pat Bryant from Illinois went to Denver. I'm not a big Pat Bryant fan. I get it. I think some people like him, but he's just going to be just a guy in the NFL. I mean, he's converted quarterback that went to wide receiver, played at U of I, and I'm not a big fan of U of I anything. So, Jaden, Jarquez Hunter, Gunnar Helm, Dylan Sampson, Will Howard, Troy Horton, Dylan Gabriel, Savion Williams, who is an absolute animal as a human being. The dude picks up cars and jumps over buildings and shit, but he's to be seen. To me, he reminds me of remember Jalen Camp a couple years ago that came out and was just an absolute looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane kind of guy, but that's kind of how I feel Savion Williams. I don't think he's going to pan out for much. He landed in Green Bay in an already crowded kind of room anyway. Jane Royals, Ty Felton, DJ Giddens, Quinn Ewers, and the league we got Taj Brooks. So that was how my first rookie draft panned out. That was a 9 tight end super flex PPR league. So
that's not bad.
It was cool. It was the first draft of the year. I'd like to get my feet wet and kind of see stuff. But if you took the ADP from this draft and the ADP from the 3 drafts I'm in right now, completely different. I think Cam Ward went 108 in a different draft. There was also super flex, which is that was a little bit. I mean, Cam Ward at 102 might seem a little rich, but Cam Ward at 106 or 108 is value. And Buka went. I'm sorry, Luther Burden went 206 or 205 in a draft, and I tried to trade every single person 2 second-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 3rd-round pick next year, everything. And for him to fall that far, I was so pissed I didn't get a chance to get him.
Yeah, I like Burden. I liked him. Coming out of Missouri, he's kind of an a-hole kid too, but I like my guys. They have a little bit of, dickheadishness in them, if you would say it. The only thing that pisses me off is that the Bears drafted Colston Loveland, and that just kind of bogs down. It doesn't piss you off in terms of being a Bears fan, and I wouldn't as a Bears fan. It pisses me off in terms of fantasy because now you just added another really good player to take away targets from the other options.
Yeah.
So it's going to start bogging some of that stuff down, and it should. I mean, it has affected some of the ADP of some of these guys like DJ Moore. What is he at? He's wide receiver 17 in the first ADP that I did. Roma Dunze came up, but he's at 29.
I think DJ Moore is not for long for the Bears. I think by the end of this year, he may be shipped, in my opinion. He had a lot of bad attitude problems last year, walking off the field, sitting on the bench, pouting. He's not that much of a diva wide receiver to pull that kind of diva shit. So, that's...
And that would explain why they did Burden and Loveland.
Yep.
Because I had a bunch of people like, why did the Bears, draft Loveland tight end? And I'm like, well, he's more of a move tight end. They could just shift him over to the slot if they really wanted to, and then just have Cole Kmet to sit in, to in line more to block and to work off the end. But and then a lot of people and then they went with Burden, and I'm like, well, there's your slot guy right there.
Yeah. That means DJ Moore's going to be on the outside where he's not. I mean, he's not as proficient. Let's be straight. The Chris Godwin, the DJ Moore, and the slot roles are what you want to see in fantasy football. Not put them on the outside, so and get smoked by the number one DB on every team. So it's not where you want to see him.
Yeah.
But I mean, Colston Loveland was pretty much last year's, as far as rankings are concerned, in like C2C rankings. Colston Loveland was the number one tight end. The move up of Tyler Warren only came because he had a good season this year. He's kind of a one-hit wonder for a season. Now, of course, he got all the work, he got all the passes, he got all the receptions, but Loveland was going to be the tight end one if Warren didn't have the season he had.
Yeah. I don't know. I do like Tyler Warren. I hate the fact that he went to the fucking Colts.
That's not I don't think it's a bad deal. I think he might be the number one receiver. When you're trying to draft a wide receiver in fantasy football, you're looking for them to be the number one target guy on your team. I'm not sure the Colts are going to. They don't have like a number one guy established right now. I don't think they have that. They don't. They have a lot of good receivers, but they don't have a number one. Tyler Warren has a chance of being the number one receiver on the Colts because out of necessity, not just because talent, and he's a talented receiver too. Who, granted, he's only shown 1 year of talent, but I think he could be the number one receiver. When you're talking about who do you want on your team, you want the players who are the number one. You want the Travis Kelce's, you want the George Kittles, you want the Mason Taylor, what do you call it? The Tyler Warrens. You want the guys who are going to be the number one receiver on their team. So I'm okay with that. As far as fantasy is concerned, I think it was actually a pretty decent spot. And they needed a tight end because they drafted 17 tight ends in the last 15 straight NFL drafts, and they still can't get it right. So maybe they nailed it this time. We'll see what happens.
Well, it's just I'm tired of them having nine fucking tight ends on the roster. That's the only problem. And then they utilize 7 of them.
Right.
So, like you get folks be like, oh, well, what do you think of the tight end for Indianapolis? Which one? Mo Alley fucking Cox, Drew Ogletree? Right. Or fucking Will Mallory, who last year they were listing as a fucking starter, but he was never on the fucking field.
Right. That's been a problem for years with them of always having one good tight end, but he's got to share the time with 15 other people. Yeah. Or if, they have double tight ends or sometimes 3 tight end sets, and it's like, dude, what's going on here, man?
Yeah. That's the only thing that pisses me off about it. I still like Tyler Warren, the player. I still have him ranked, right now. I have him ranked up,
sure.
Like a second round pick because just off talent alone, but it is a really good spot for him as long as they don't fuck around with the other guys and just waste it. So any players of intrigue like that you're really into that maybe some other guys, some other people drafting might not be all that into? Like who's your rookie guys that you really, really do like?
Let's go through my 2025 rookie sheet that I made on Google Sheets because I know how to use Google Sheets now. So I kind of do anyway. But guys, I mean, a lot of dudes that I like later in the draft, like it's funny because I had these dudes on my fantasy football team in college that were just killing weeks like Xavier Restrepo. I don't know why he ran in the combine. You know, I don't know why he ran and I don't know. His agent should just be fired and never be able to represent anybody again. That was absolutely ridiculous why that happened. So, I like. Obviously, I like. I start at the top as far as rankings are concerned. I like Genty, Hampton, obviously Ted, Travion, all these guys in the top. Not a big Caleb Johnson fan. I'm doing the best I can to stay away from him. But if the value falls, the value falls. I mean, it's a good landing spot in Pittsburgh. He's going to get work, but he doesn't get any receptions, and he's going to get stuffed in the box. I think they run the most zone. They run the sixth most zone of everybody. Okay, that's great. You know that. The guy can't break a tackle, and he's playing the NFL against bigger, faster players. So, like I said, I'd rather have Egbuka over a lot of these guys, and also I'd rather have Luther Burden over a lot of these guys. Luther Burden fell in the draft because of where he fell and landing spot. Talent over situation. I mean, that's the most important. You got to get that nail in your head. Talent over situation. Yeah. Elijah Arroyo, somebody I like a lot. I just think he's such a talented athlete that's going to draft capital is important for a lot of players, but you know, for tight ends especially, it's athleticism that means a lot. And Elijah Arroyo is a very athletic tight end. So,
I love that kid. When I was watching him, I'm like, it's just the shitty part about him was just the two ACLs, and I'm like, God, how high up would this kid have been in the fucking draft if that shit never happened?
Right.
But I do love the landing spot with Seattle because I do believe he can beat out Noah Fant.
Kyle Williams from Washington State is a guy that I'm trading up for right now. I think that secret's kind of out on him as far as him moving up or what he did at the combine. Plus, if you watch him in college, he did pretty well in college too. But he was not even on a lot of boards like when his evaluation started. Like he wasn't even on a lot of like people's draft sheets. So. Jaden Blue, the Dallas spot kind of moved him up boards too. Rashard Smith is another one that's kind of moving up right now. Jarquez Hunter is moving up some draft boards too. But guys like Isaiah Bond are falling. You know, like Troy Horton's falling. I like Ty Felton. He landed in a great spot. He could be the wide receiver 3 in Minnesota, and I'm not sure why people are writing him off. I love Ty Felton. He's somebody that I'm trying to get. Aronde Gadsden, the tight end from Syracuse, another guy. I think he landed in a pretty good spot. He's a great player. He's got his dad played in the NFL. He knows what it takes to be an NFL player just by having that kind of in your family. So another guy I like a lot. Like I said before, Restrepo. Let me think. Ricky White's a good player late. I like Ricky White. I thought he was a very, very talented player. The problem with a lot of these guys, some of these guys it's their age. They stayed in college so long. You know, that's one of the big knocks. Like Nick Nash, he's like 29 years old already, but at San Jose State, he was awesome, dude. Him and what do you call it? I had Nick Nash and Harold Fannin on my C2C league last year, and those two guys alone would score me like probably 60 points a week. It was absolutely awesome, and they're going to be absolutely nothing in the NFL now, which sucks. Yeah, but I did win this. I won the college side and the NFL side of my C2C league last year, which is kind of hard to do. So
nice. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the two wide receivers that went to Detroit? Tisla and who's the other? Lovett.
Yeah, I'm not just the guys. I think they're just saying that Jameson Williams is probably going to be not kept, which I think is a huge mistake from Detroit. I think Jameson Williams was my number 1 receiver last year in the draft, or a couple years ago in the draft. I think he's such a talented kid. I just feel like you're wasting if you're going to let him go for guys like Isaac Tesla and stuff like that. Come on. I mean, you could record this and make this the biggest blooper in the history of bloopers. Like I was pissed off that they're getting Jameson Williams go, and it might end up that way where it was my mistake thinking that overvaluing Jameson Williams, but in college that guy was an absolute stud, and he's such an athletic freak. He returns kicks, he returns punts. He's a special teams player. He's a gadget player, and he's an excellent receiver on top there. I mean, if you can't use Jameson Williams, that's like the Bears cutting Greg Olsen a couple years ago because Mike Martz didn't like a tight end in his system.
Yeah.
Find a way to use Jameson Williams, man.
Yeah, there was that rumor came about. I want to say Thursday when we hit the media room, and they were like, Detroit's thinking of trying to trade Jameson Williams. I'm like, fucking why?
Why?
What's the point?
But again, I'm not in the locker room with these guys. I'm not in clubhouse meetings. I'm not in the weight room. I don't see what he does, how lazy he is. The thing is, you can get it so far in talent alone, and maybe they said, hey, this guy's never going to get any better than he is right now, and he's just, so us as watching a kid play in college that was just on a superior team with superior talent and was able to just shine because he wasn't never double covered, and it's just so much faster than everybody else. I don't know what's going on behind scenes in the NFL. I do see things. I do see him on the NFL producing and being a good receiver and a good talent, but it just feels like such a mistake letting a guy like that walk.
Yeah, I don't know. Even if he said that, he had a problem with Jared Goff just because he missed him on a few of the throws, where Williams is, wide fucking open, doing a fucking slant, as I call the Jordy slant, coming all the way across and just completely fucking misses him. It just missed opportunities for that kid right now, and I'd hope that they would get it corrected with Detroit. Well, I mean, as a Packers fan, I don't want them to get it fixed, but as a fantasy football player, I want it to get fixed because he's still going to be an incredible value in every single.
What if he leaves Detroit and goes to Green Bay and becomes a Green Bay's like version of what's his name was, who's got the bad hamstrings the last couple of years? Who's a Detroit? Who's Packers receiver with the bad hamstrings?
Christian Watson.
Christian Watson. What if he goes to Detroit and becomes an improved version of Christian Watson and just makes that offense hum? Like, that would be absolutely insane.
He is an improved version of Christian Watson.
I know. I'm just saying, like, if they let him walk and he goes to a division rival and he just absolutely burns the entire NFC North because he's that good in a great position where what Jordan Love knows how to use, that would be crazy.
Oh, it'd be fan-fucking-tastic. I'd love it.
Yeah,
I mean, Christian Watson's as good as gone for the Packers anyway. So if they were able to get Jameson Williams, I'd love it. I would love it.
That would be so cool.
So, yeah. So I'm
what
trying to see.
I
don't know. What's your thought? What's your thoughts on Jalen Milroe? Since we were talking about Seattle being the backup there behind Darnold, and I like the fact that they're going to be able to give him a couple of seasons to kind of work on his passing, and if he's able to actually get the keys to that offense, I do like the fact that he does have that built-in rushing. But I mean, he's got to improve the passing.
Running quarterbacks don't know how to read defenses. That's the problem. Okay, with running quarterbacks, they have in a fight or flight reaction, they fly. They don't sit in the pocket and flight and try to wait. Try to make things happen, and they're so used to that, like running around. Quarterbacks that get a snap and throw the football right away. Those are the ones I want. I want to know somebody who sees, the safety's back 5 more yards, 3 more yards than he should be. The linebacker's in the wrong spot, I can see this guy creeping up because I watched film and I saw that he's going to blitz because his left foot's forward. Those kind of quarterbacks are going to read those kind of things. If you're a quarterback who just your only value is a rushing ability and not reading defenses, you're in trouble. I don't want that on my team. That's fine. He's going to get a bunch of fantasy points for rushing and, when he does get in finally, but he's not for long in the NFL if that's all he's going to do is rush. We saw that with Justin Fields. I'm crossing my fingers that Justin Fields just breaks out this year. I just want him to be. I want him to win the Jets the AFC East, and I love the Bills. I want him to do that. I want him to be just a superior athlete that all of a sudden just learn how to read defenses, just like Josh Allen learned how to throw accurate passes. I want that transition to happen so bad.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm not going to see it. And that's Justin Fields. Maybe, Jalen Milroe to me is a worse version of Justin Fields.
Okay. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear what your thoughts were on him. And you're telling me that, then I'm going to stay away from him. And I appreciate that.
I am not the judge, the jury, and the executioner on all these guys' fantasy values or in life real value. That's just how I feel.
I'll tell you what, if he's at the back end of a fucking third round, I'll still end up taking him probably.
Sure.
Just he can sit on the bench. We have our league's fairly deep, so it's like, all right, I can keep him all the way down here.
I hate playing leagues that have 10 starters and only like 12 bench players and shit like that. It's like, what? I want 10 starters or 11 starters and like 20 rounds of backups with a 10 IR bench spot also. I want to have like 45 guys on my team, man. I love deep rosters. I love taking shots. And as far as taxis, these people who, we need to have these taxi squads. Bullshit, man. Just get rid of the fucking taxi squad and make your rosters bigger. What is the difference? It's all it is a fancy fucking version of saying I got bigger rosters. Just fucking expand the rosters, man.
Let's see if there's another guy. I hate Jordan James, but I like the spot where he landed with San Francisco. And I said this based off of just the fact that San Francisco can't seem to keep a fucking running back healthy.
Right.
So he's going to get the opportunity. I like Jalen Lane with Washington. It's kind of on the low end. I think he has an opportunity to be a potential wide receiver 3. And once, Debo kind of leaves too, he could actually project up into a wide receiver 2. Elijah Arroyo, my bad. Shuck, I have way the fuck down. I like that. I like the thing with Tyler kid, but
the thing with Tyler Shuck is that I think they want him on the team to be a mentor. From what I understand is that he reads defenses like a genius. Mm-hmm. He's so smart. Like, I guess that's his he can read defenses, and I think they want him to learn the system and almost be like a player coach and like a great backup. That's kind of what I see like their future for him.
Okay. So who was it? Was it Barron's that had the comment that Tyler Shuck is the pick that you make to get Arch Manning in 2026?
Yeah. Right. And I don't think Arch Manning doesn't need to be coached. So if you have, but I don't think Arch Manning's not coming out till 27 anyway. So that's, you don't have to worry about that. The Manning's already said they want him to play at least 30 games in college before he comes out. So he's not coming out next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
So if you're trading all your picks away to get, as a matter of fact, I traded away a lot of my picks this year, but I think at 26, I'm going to trade all my 26 picks away because I think a lot of good talent, a ton. This is a wave of like talented kids that came out this year. And I think a lot of players that were supposed to come out in 2026 are probably not coming out because of the NIL money. So I think 2027 picks are the way to be. Like if you're trading for shit now, instead of a 26, try okay, I'll just make it a 27 instead of a 26 and try to stack up all your 27 picks.
Okay. Good to know. One last one. We got to get going here. But Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt with the Commanders. What do you think of him? I like him, but I think it's a dangerous pick. But it is something worth warranting at the end of the 4th round, or even UDFAing in a dynasty or whatever.
I don't have a problem with him. I mean, he's. I don't really have a lot of feelings about him. I think he's going to be just a guy. I don't think he's going to be, man, this guy just came out of nowhere. I mean, people write articles on X, and people write articles on Fantasy Pros, and people write articles and do things like that. But I don't think he's going to be anything more than just a guy in the NFL. Maybe possibly even just a practice squad guy, to be honest with you.
Now, see, you say just a guy, right? And I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I just think he can take. I just think there is a possibility that he could actually beat out the other 3 just guys on that roster. I think it was a really good spot for him to potentially get maybe in a tandem situation and actually then prove that he's worth more than Brian Robinson as, say, the early down back and occasional passing down. Well,
he's already 20. He's already going to be 25, and he's only 205 pounds, I think, or 206 pounds. I think he's not going to be an early down back. He's not going to beat out Brian Robinson. And I mean, So I like Brian. I did not like Brian Robinson coming out. I thought he was a slow and guy who never really caught the ball too much. And man, talk about people who fool you. Brian Robinson ended up being a pretty damn good. I'm not going to say so much fantasy like guy, even though he's pretty decent to have in your fantasy team. But as an NFL player, I think he really kind of changed my mind on how talented he was. But to be maybe the Eckler role, something like that, if he can catch a ton of passes. But that's I don't know.
Okay. I was kind of surprised that Washington actually didn't cut Eckler after the season. I don't know if he's just got some kind of a guarantee within his contract, and that's why they didn't do it. But because I didn't look at his contract whatsoever. But I don't know why.
If you don't catch the ball that much and you're not that big, what are you going to do on this team? What is his role going to be? He's not going to beat out an early down roll from. He's not going to beat Brian Robinson's not going. He's not going to beat out Brian Robinson from early round roll. He doesn't catch passes to beat out Austin Eckler. So I don't understand what this pick really was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have my feelings, John. I just have my feelings sometimes on it.
That's okay. It's in a. I mean, they got McNichols. They got who else on that team?
Rodriguez.
Chris Rodriguez. Chris Rodriguez was.
I hate Chris Rodriguez.
Everybody does, but Chris Rodriguez is probably the next man up for maybe early down back. I mean, he's 227 or 20, what is he, 230 pounds or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be the early down back if way before your new favorite Merritt. So
my new favorite Merritt. But I don't know. Sometimes I look at these guys and I'm just like, I really like this kid. I really want him to succeed. And maybe that's where I get in my own fucking way with it.
I didn't understand why that pick was made for them, though. There's so many different players they could have picked. Pick an offensive lineman at that point in time, somebody that you could put on a practice squad that you could develop, or a defensive back for like a secondary defensive back that you could put on a practice squad or something like that.
Well, the defensive back thing they needed to do a little bit more than that. I was rather pissed off that they got Trey Amos though, because I wanted him in Green Bay.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted him in their cities. He's pretty good.
Yeah. So, all right, Mr. McGlynn. I think this is where we're going to kind of wrap it up here.
Well, thanks for having me today, man. It ended up being a nice conversation.
I know. I didn't know if we were going to be doing like 45 minutes. I didn't know if we were going to be doing an hour and a half, and here we are at almost fucking hour and a half, and it doesn't even seem like it either.
Well, me and JT just did 2.5 hour shows back to back the other day. So these long shows don't bother me at all, man. This is kind of what I'm fucking used to. So
that's fair. I don't mind doing a longer show. Usually the podcast runs about an hour. Mm-hmm. Try to keep it under there just because people, their attention spans are really low. But, if we're having a good conversation and stuff like that, I don't mind running long whatsoever. Yeah. And like I said, it doesn't seem like we've been going for an hour and a half. So, but I do appreciate you coming on, and I would like to have you back doing this, every once in a while, just kind of talking, catching up and seeing where we stand on certain things. So
as Deion Sanders says, I ain't hard to find.
Thank God.
Right? I can jump on whenever. Impromptu shit is my favorite because I have a 4-on 4-off schedule, which midnights and days every 4 days. It's kind of a fucking shit show, as far as that goes. But I do have a lot of time, and if you want to just, hey, I'm doing some impromptu show today, what are you doing? Like, just let me know, and I could jump on a lot of times, So
shit, I might hit you up and just be like, hey, you want to pop in? Just do a guest and just do a complete random. Yeah. If you're up for it, absolutely. So. Right.
John McGlynn 75 on X. You can find me at Dynasty Evaluation YouTube channel, Dynasty Evaluation. I try to do some stuff on the socials, but I'm terrible at them. I'm an old man. I'm 51 years old, and I'm trying to learn social media now for the first time in my life, and it's terrible at it. I'm a Facebook guy, and that's for my friends and family, so I don't even put any of my shit on Facebook. So that's just a conversation with my buddies. I can tell you my son and my buddy's kids' number in their baseball team and shit, but I don't really put too much fantasy football talk on Facebook. So I'm trying to use the TikToks and the other stuff like that, but I'm just not good at it. So just X John McGlynn 75 and my YouTube channel where all my stuff's at, and Dynasty Evaluation YouTube channel, and that's pretty much it, man.
Fantastic. And, everybody at RoyDog_13 on most of everything except for TikTok, which is, the RoyDog13 without the underscore. Dennis M. Roy over on Facebook. I do put a lot of fantasy football stuff on there. I also put a lot of nerd stuff up with my any type of movie, music, any type of that shit. So, every once in a while I'm just working in the fucking nerdery, just trying to keep people fucking entertained. So hit me up if anybody wants to know anything about the website. The website is actually still currently open. If anybody wants to go to dawghouseff.com and check that out, I'm just going to leave it up for the rest of the day.
And more importantly, may the 4th be with you.
Oh, man. My inner nerd is crying. I will keep the tears off of here, though, because I got to be a man. I'm fucking 47. I'm a fucking strong man.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.